Hi everyone, back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with a match preview for Newcastle United's upcoming game. That is the Champions League is back on. Newcastle United versus PSV Eindhoven, another Bobby Robson derby in the Champions League at St James's Park at 8 o'clock on Wednesday. So this is a great position for Newcastle to more or less qualify for the next stage of the Champions League. We're in a really good position. We're a couple of points ahead of PSV, so they're going to come at this game definitely wanting to close that gap and try and get themselves in the playoffs, if not the top 8, to try and get through the kind of steady teams to get the better ties in the next round of the Champions League. But Newcastle United come into this game off the back of a really dismal, rubbish, drab draw against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and attacking-wise, will look like we're really drying up. So this is going to be a really interesting game. PSV Eindhoven are a really good side. They sit top of the Eredivisie. Battered Liverpool last time they were over in these shows, which I'll talk about in a second. But we'll get stuck right into the lineup in a minute. Just before I do, a little reminder, smash subscribe below. Help get us to the next milestone, which is 13,000. We're getting close. We're nearly at 12,500. Thanks to you wonderful people. Remember to like the video, hype it, do all of the stuff that helps the channel grow. So let's get stuck in. How do I think we're going to line up against PSV Eindhoven? Well, probably like this. I think Lewis Miley's going to come back in at right back. I think Nick Pope will continue in goal. Malachow and Sven Botman at the back, and Lewis Hall at left back. I don't want Lewis Hall rest in this game at all. He's probably one of our most creative influences outside him and Bruno Guimaraes. Nobody else. And this team has the courage or the balls to create any chances. But it's Champions League night. So, there's a certain player, which I will talk about in a minute, who probably will show up in this game because all the eyes are watching him and he can't be asked to show up in the day-to-day bread and butter Premier League. But that's the back four. I think the midfield three will be Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, who's very lucky, in my opinion, to be in this starting lineup because he has been crap the majority of the season, absolutely dreadful. If we had a proper right back fit, if Tino Livramento was fit, I think Trippier's just back. He looked a bit shaky at times against Wolves. I don't think Trippier will be thrown into this game. But Eddie Howe could surprise you. He could play Trippier for his experience and put Miley into midfield, but he's more likely to leave Miley on the bench, which I think is nuts. Because Sandro Tonali should not be anywhere near this team. He's given the ball away way too many times. He doesn't look anything like the player that we all knew and loved and talked about Spaghetti and Moretti about. He looks like a player, in my opinion, who wants to leave the football club. And I think that's what will happen at the end of the season, come Champions League qualification or not, which I think is probably going to be quite difficult to achieve. So it'll be Bruno, Sandro, and Joe Linton in the midfield. And then the front three, I think he'll bring Visser back in from the start through the middle, who really needs to sort himself out and up his game a little bit. He's looking laboured. He's looking slow. He's looking unresponsive, and this guy's been out for the majority of the season. He's been fit since the middle of December, but everyone's giving him a free pass saying, he's going to get back to match sharpness and all that. He looks like he's lost a yard. That knee injury come at the worst time, probably for Visser in terms of his age. He's 29 now. He's getting close to the 30 mark where it takes longer to recover from injuries and they can have more impact on you as a player, especially if you rely on your pace to get in behind. Players have been injured for years. Even Shearer had a bit of pace before he had so many knee injuries and he had to adapt his game. But Visser's not Shearer. He's nowhere near. He's not going to adapt his game at that level. So he's still trying to do the same things that he did. And we're looking at Visser and expecting him to be Alexander Isak Mark II, which he's not. So that's an issue as well. But he needs to get himself back on the goal train for me. He needs to show a bit more willingness. He needs to start taking some of these chances, which he's not doing. But let's hope tonight is the night in terms of PSV. And out wide either side, we'll have Harvey Barnes shoehorned back in on the right-hand side because Moody Tits Gordon doesn't want to go over there. He's on the left-hand side again. And Anthony Gordon, this is what's going to happen in this game. Right? I'll predict it right now. Anthony Gordon will show up for this game. Anthony Gordon will look lively. Anthony Gordon will look hungry. He'll take on his fullback. He'll look dangerous, right? And do you know why? Because all the eyes of the world are watching him in the Champions League. This guy cherry picks what games he shows up for Newcastle United this season. And I don't care if you're an Anthony Gordon fan. I don't care if you got your hair cut the same fucking way and you've got a headband in right now watching this, screaming at the screen. That is right. Anthony Gordon is inconsistent because he doesn't turn up. He thinks he's a bigger player than he is. And when the chips are down, he fucks off. That's what Anthony Gordon does. He's got no heart, no desire. He doesn't show up in the bread and butter Premier League games against your Wolves, your Bournemouths, your Leeds. He just goes missing. That's what he does. But then in Champions League night, he'll show up. Either create a goal, score a goal, get a pen, put it away, whatever. And then everyone will go, oh, Anthony Gordon's class, man. He's mint, he's class when he wants to be. And that's the biggest problem, Anthony Gordon, for me. Harvey Barnes, on the other hand, he shows up against Bournemouth, against Brighton, against Bayer Leverkusen, against whoever else. He shows up and tries to play his game. He's a consummate professional. He's playing out of position to play in this team. He should be on the left-hand side. Gordon shouldn't even be there. It's only because our right-hand side is weak as piss, and now Murphy's injured. We've got two choices. We either start Alanga, which he might do for his pace, but I don't think Alanga his confidence or anything is anywhere near what we need for this game, because Newcastle United need to really win this game, I think, because if we win this game, it alleviates loads of pressure. It puts us in a really good position to either qualify as one of the top 8 or get into the playoffs in the Champions League. And either or of them are a really good thing for Newcastle. We would all have took that at the start of the season when you talk about Champions League qualification. So I'm not going to be too upset if we get into the playoffs, but of course, if you get through as one of the 8, that's an unbelievable achievement. But my issue with Champions League this season is it's great for these games, it's great to enjoy these games and all the experiences and everything else. But if we don't sort of shit out in the league, we won't be here next season. I'll tell you that, because we ain't going to win the Champions League. That's for damn sure. Sorry to piss on people's parades, but that ain't going to happen. So Newcastle United need to start putting their form in the Premiership as well. But I get it, it's Champions League, put a Premier League to rest, try and get a good performance and a good result in this game, and then, get yourself in a really strong qualifying position. So maybe the pressure's taken off the PSG game because you're looking in a good position in the Champions League. But in terms of the visitors, PSV Eindhoven, I said they're sitting top of the Eredivisie. They smashed Liverpool 4-1 last time they were over these shores. And some of the play in that game, they lost just narrowly 3-2 Atletico Madrid in the last Champions League game, again, which is no small feat. You're talking about 2 Champions League stalwart clubs there. I know Liverpool have been having a really difficult season. Excuse me while I wipe the tear from my eye. But they battered Liverpool. They were strong. They played right through the middle of Liverpool. They put in some really good crosses, set pieces. The movement was great from their strikers. Their main kind of striker is Gus Till. He's got 11 goals in the Eredivisie, a couple of goals in the Champions League. He was a real menace against Liverpool. He got himself a goal as well. And the lad that they brought off the bench, who I don't think has any goals in the Eredivisie, weird enough, is it Druak, I think it is. He had a couple of goals against Liverpool. He was really lively in that game. Really, really lively. Caused them a lot of trouble. Ran at them with pace, with a little bit of endeavour. They've got some experience as well with Perisic. I know he's 36 now. He dips in and out of their Eredivisie lineup, but he might play in the Champions League for that experience. Probably a similar way that Trippier may play for us for his experience, but I worry that Trippier's just not got the legs to deal with some of the pace that they may have in the full-back areas in terms of Destin, Adine, who can maybe run at them with a little bit of speed. That worries me a little bit about this PSV team, but they are no mugs. There's no doubt about that, right? But we have a good record at St James's Park. We've been strong in the Champions League at St James's Park, so there's no reason why Newcastle United can't get the job done. But what we have to do is we have to go at PSV right from the kickoff with intensity, get in their face, play the game that we'll play, get the wingers engaged, get Visser engaged. The midfield needs to be strong and control it. They need to physicality from Joe Linton, quality from Bruno. Sandro needs to get his head out of his arse and get into a game and try and influence a game. And if we can do that, and we can get an early goal and get ahead in this game, I think we'll control this game. We really will. But what worries me is that PSV will maybe look at the game plan, the design of how to beat Newcastle United, sit into a low block for the first kind of 15 minutes, quiet the crowd down, watch Newcastle run out of ideas, and then hit us on the pace, with the movement from the likes of Gill and the likes of those players that, can get in behind our back four and maybe cause trouble. Back four-wise, I think Malik Chow and Botman are a really good pair. They started to play really well. Even at the weekend, even though that game was drab, they defended really well. When like Strand Larson came on as a handy player, we were after him for 50 million in the summer. So defensively, we're good. Hall is magnificent, going forward and at the back. If we had 2 Lewis Halls, we'd be all right on that left-hand side, to be fair, wouldn't we? I'd much rather have 2 Lewis Halls than 1 Anthony Gordon, I'll put it that way. But Miley's good on the right as well. He's very composed. He handles that side really well. But there's no real massive speed merchants that I can recall of in the PSV team that could cause us massive trouble. But, they're probably decent enough, got a little bit of speed, especially against Trippier. I think I could outrun Trippier these days, even after a 12-inch pizza from the takeaway. I think I could outrun Trippier these days. But it's going to be a difficult game for Newcastle. There's no doubt about it. PSV will come for a result. There is no doubt about that. They're sitting 2 points off of us in the Champions League. If they win, they go ahead of us. They've got a strong chance of qualification to the next round, which is what they want, because everybody wants the money, baby. That's what they want. They want the Champions League money to get you through to the next round, PSR, all of the stuff. We've already coined 20-odd million quid from getting thus far in the Champions League. There's another 3 million, I think, if you get through, to the playoffs or to the knockouts, whatever, another 3 or 4, 5 million, whatever it is. It's just money for all rope in the Champions League. But this will be a difficult game for Newcastle. But I think that's the line that we'll go with. And I think if we play the way we can play at home, with that confidence, with that press, with that intensity, we could win this game. But we're not going to keep a clean sheet, I don't think, because we're just incapable of doing that at the minute. We give away too many chances, and they've got too many players that we saw against Liverpool who can hurt you if they get opportunity. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Newcastle United on Wednesday night against PSV. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the lineup, about the game, about the potential result. Are you worried about PSV? Are you worried about the way we're playing? Do you think we'll struggle in this game? Now, do you think some of our players are going to play? Do you think Gordon's going to decide to turn up because it's the Champions League night, or not? But we always like to hear from you. Smash a comment below, like and subscribe. Remember to keep it evermore. It's all free content. If you want to be a member, there is a members option there as well. You can have access to the Discord group, and we can have a good old chat about Newcastle away from all of the toxicity of social media. Nice, safe space. It's a good place to be if you want to be a member and get stuck into that. There'll be loads of prizes coming in the next few weeks as well for you. And remember, hype the video, help everything grow. I'll see you on the post-match after PSV. Have a belter. I'll see you later.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.